Hi, this is Eddie Deason. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hey, what's up, guys? Christopher Stolle back for another Breaking the Fourth Wall episode podcast. And this time around, we're stepping back into the realm of common ground. So let this be a fair warning to everybody listening. We will be not talking so much about entertainment, but about real life problems and situations, and offering our points of view and opinions you may or may not agree with. So just be forewarned. This is not like Journal of the Jedi or any of the other types of topics of conversation we have, where it's more lighthearted and fun. Joining me today is one of the founding members of Blind Cafe Radio and host of one of the podcasts that we produce for, which is the Naked DJs podcast, which can be found wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Mr. Lightning Blind Mike. Mike, what's up?
Good evening, everybody. I'm doing great, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
Day to day, man. Day to day.
I can understand that.
Well, the reason Mike is joining me tonight is if people have paid attention on the regular basis of Breaking the Fourth Wall, and even on Blind Cafe Radio, where I am one of the DJs that hosts a Monday night show called Raise the Underground, that I have been very conspicuous by my absence. And the reason of being that I have been absent from shows here as well as on Blind Cafe Radio, for people who know me, know that I have been in a bitter divorce and custody battle with my kids, constantly in and out of courts about child support, about visitations. It's an ugly mess. I'm not going to go into full details on that, but it's something that I've been dealing with for many, many years. But the problem is things have come to a head today. Well, not today, but the past couple weeks. And that is, my ex-wife has taken my children and moved them to another state. And by doing so, it violates my visitation rights, which are supposed to be every other weekend, as well as I've not even been contacted by the court systems allowing this, but apparently the courts have allowed it. And the fact that as a father, I get absolutely zero say. Nothing. Because I have a penis, all I am is a sperm donor and an ATM, and that's exactly how I've been treated. For context, for people listening, yes, I am in Philadelphia, so I deal with the Philadelphia County courts, family court systems. But it's not just that way in Philly either. There are other states that do the same thing. Well, that's exactly, and that's why I was going to state is that, things may be slightly different in some way, shape, or form in other states, but the general consensus with family court around the United States is that men get shafted. And whenever you say that to somebody, especially to like a feminist, for example, or a mother, especially a mother who deals with an actual deadbeat father, their blood boils when you turn around and mention the unfairness to an actual caring, loving father the system is. And that's one of the reasons I brought Mike on the show was not just so I can vent my own problems so people understand why I disappeared, or why I may seem a little different on air now, or whatever the case may be. Mike is here because long before I had a voice on podcasting or DJing, Mike and I worked in wrestling. And during that time in professional wrestling, and I started getting to know Mike, I discovered that he kind of went through similar situations that I'm going through now with regards to his own kids. So, Mike, I'm not gonna go further into that. I'll let you decide what you do or do not want the listeners to hear, but I'll pass the floor to you to explain in more detail as you wish.
All right. So basically, like you said, we're both in Colorado, and it's just not a gimmick that I'm blind. Lightning Blind Mike is actually a real thing. I am actually, I'm totally blind now, but back when I was wrestling, I was legally blind. ever since I was about 18 years old. But when I had my girls, of course, the mother and I were still together, but then we separated. And in these states, they say, oh, well, we have deadbeat dad laws, things like that. But again, when the dad is not the deadbeat that's going on, and you still have to pay child support as a father, and you're hoping to see your kids. Well, mine was a little bit different. I would see my kids, but she would use every angle possible to keep me from seeing them, and the courts just didn't want to hear it. Now, I paid child support. Again, I'm blind. Yes, I do. I received a disability check, but guess what? I worked also so I could pay my child support so I could see my girls. And then when I was actually seeing, now, Chris here, his kids moved to a different state. Mine moved to a different area in Colorado. Well, with me being blind, I couldn't find them because I have no idea where they're at. I can't go driving around or do anything. And I couldn't see my girls. It was just impossible for me to get what I wanted, and that was to see my girls. So I paid child support ever since they were 18, and I just basically already went through it, which with what Chris is going through now. So I can actually feel for Chris on this one, because I literally had to fight through the courts, through attorneys, everything, just to see them. And to let you guys know, at the very end of the whole thing, I still didn't get to see them because she would move or whatever the situation may be, but I still ended up paying child support.
Well, that there was a couple questions I wanted to add in on that. And first off, I wanted a statement before the questions. When you and I used to talk about it, and I first discovered that you had daughters and that you were going through this system and all that, and at that time I only had one child, my oldest son, JT, and all that. But when we were discussing, I never knew they were in Colorado. If I would have known, I would have helped you out. I thought they were in another state. I was under the impression, since you were originally from Orlando, Florida, that your children
that they were out here.
There. Yeah, I never knew they were in Colorado. Had I known, I would have set up rides or whatever to get you to your daughters. I never knew that.
Yeah, I didn't really say too much to anybody back into wrestling because I wasn't that type of a drama person. I kept a lot of that stuff to myself. But one of the things I'll give this as an example. I had the wrestling ring set up in my backyard.
Right. I was one of the people that helped.
And I was seeing my girls at the time every other weekend while I was living at that house, and I started teaching Maya how to become a professional wrestler, and she was jumping off the bottom ropes and doing rolls and everything else. Can you believe it that she took me to court and told the judge that her daughter's in danger and this and that, and I was ordered not to let her get in the ring?
I could believe it, and I'll tell you why I could believe it. You remember the alternate gimmick I used to play in wrestling? The 13th Apostle, Christian Draconis, who was part of the tag team known as The Fallen. And, of course, the character design you remember was black and white kabuki face paint, very gothic, very antichrist vampire character. When my ex and I were together and we were going through the procedures for her other children, visitations of her other children with another man, that when she and I got together, I got dragged to court, and the 13th Apostle was actually used against me as proof that I am not a positive role model for Heather's other kids. They actually tried to prove that I was a devil worshiper because of playing the Apostle.
Wow.
So, yeah, I completely believe that because you were showing Maya some things in wrestling.
What gets me on that is that all these other professional wrestlers that have millions of dollars that have made it trained their kids at 5-6 years old. I mean, look at the Guerreros. The father, I can't remember his name, trained Eddie and his brother and everything else at the age of 5 or 6, and they became professional wrestlers. But because we don't have that money, or we're considered layman people and not famous people, that the rules are completely different.
Right. To the professional wrestling world, an independent circuit wrestler is just as professional as the WWE style wrestler.
Correct.
To the rest of the world, we're worse than minor league baseball compared to the WWE, AEW, or otherwise. Basically, if you're not making a living on it, you're just doing a hobby.
Exactly.
And that's how the court system looks at it. Luckily, I had a judge at that point with the Apostle situation, and of course they tried to use my band against me too. But luckily, I had a judge at that point who took a look at everything. And is like, wait a minute, it's sensationalism for promotion, right? Yeah. Plus the fact that I gave up wrestling and I gave up music to be a husband and father. I retired for my family. All of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And that was when the judge finally figured it out. It's like, okay, this was just sensationalism for promotion, and it's not something you're even pursuing now as a family man. Correct. You know, so
Now, here's...
I actually won that case, but you know, the fact of the matter is that they'll use anything they can against you. If you have a goofy picture on Facebook of you dressed as a woman, they will use that in court in some way, shape, or form to show that you are unstable or unfit.
Well, check this out. I had a what is it called? A GAL. That's the best I can. I don't remember the long term of it.
Right.
I can't remember, but a GAL. When I first started fighting for my girls and getting visitations, the GAL saw that I was working at Lockheed Martin, saw that I was doing a great thing. She actually even had me and my ex and the girls hang out together at the restaurant to see how the girls would act and everything else. And can you believe it that because the GAL was on my side and decided that, hey, he is definitely a fit father to see his kids and possibly even get full custody, because that's what I was going for. Her attorneys went ahead and attacked the GAL and said that she was getting too personal, too close to me as a person, and her opinions weren't objective anymore.
So essentially,
and they actually won that.
So essentially, what they did is they took the counselor or whatever else that was monitoring your interactions.
Appointed, yep.
That was appointed. That was monitoring your interactions with the children and your day-to-day life to see if you were a fit person. They used that to paint that as you and him and her getting into a
not getting in a relationship,
romantic or at least friendly relationship.
Not even romantic. It was just we became really good friends and so on. And that wasn't even the case. And she even failed her drug test and still won.
See, that's what I don't get. That's part of the reason why we're talking about this today. I don't want to sit here and one of the reasons I asked.
Yeah, we're not going to bash women. We just want to know why we don't have the rights.
No. I'm not going to bash women. There are women that manipulate and take advantage of the system, and especially the way the system is set. And quite honestly, although I think it's despicable, I can't necessarily blame them because the system is set up for them to do that. I'm not here to bash women, and I'm certainly not here today to talk about my woes and gain people's pities or sympathy.
We're not going to sit here and whine about it. We just want to know why.
Right. Well, one of the arguments that I have with this fucked up family court system is, why is it that a woman can automatically be deemed a fit mother and awarded primary physical custody or sole physical custody on a drop of a hat with no background checks, no bearings whatsoever, but a father in the beginning of the situation, setting up the child support, setting up the visitations, is automatically looked at as a deadbeat from day one? Correct.
And what is that one case called? Roy, the pregnancy one, the big case that everybody talks about the pregnancy, about the one being pregnant, that they can get rid of the kid.
The late-term abortions and all that.
I can't. Wade versus
Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade.
Yes, Roe versus Wade. I have a feeling because of that case, women get more rights than anything because that case was won by women.
Well, I've always argued that, and again, I'm going to piss some people off with my statement here. I've always felt that woman's body, her choice. Sure, I can't argue the point, but I'm a pro-lifer, and the reason I'm a pro-lifer is, part of the reason is this: if a woman decides she wants to be a mother, she can have a child. If she decides she doesn't want to be a mother, she can have it aborted. They're arguing for rights for after birth abortions, for a woman to change her mind then. which to me is straight out murder. But they're
Yeah, it
making that
is.
argument. But let's look at the opposite end of the coin. Let's say, Mike, you got a girl pregnant and you don't want the kid. She wants it, but you don't want it. Does it
I don't
work?
have that right to get rid of it.
Yeah. Does it work both ways? No. She'll go to court,
No, it
take
doesn't.
you for child support and everything else. You get
And she'll
no
say, it's my
say.
body, this and that, I can do what I want.
Right. You get zero say. One of my major arguments with abortion rights is the fact, outside of the extreme circumstances of rape or something like that, outside of those types of situations, when it's somebody, two consenting adults had sex and pregnancy occurred, it should be both people's say on the child. I don't care if the child may ruin your body. You had sex with him. That's part him as well.
That is correct.
That has always been my argument, is you get all the say in the world and you can back out of it at any time as a woman, but a man cannot. That is unfair.
It is. And it just comes down that because they passed a law called deadbeat dads, they consider if you're no longer with that woman anymore and you have to pay child support stuff, you're considered a deadbeat dad because you're not with that woman anymore, even though if the woman's the one that says, I don't want to be with you anymore.
Well, that's the funny thing. I mean, in my particular situation, I'm not with my ex-wife anymore because I caught her cheating on me throughout our whole entire marriage. That's why we're not together.
Yeah, but it's your fault.
But it's my fault. She stepped out on the marriage, but it was my fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let me give you another example later when my girls were about 7 or 8 years old, and this is when I was living in Arvada and I moved to Wheat Ridge. You know the areas there in Colorado,
Right.
And this is before I
basically
moved down.
For people listening not in Colorado, those are basically suburbs of Denver.
Yes, and that's before we moved down to the house at down in
Lakewood.
down by Lakewood, and my ex was only living about 2 miles away at the time, maybe 3 miles tops down the road, down 44th Avenue, which is a major street, one of the major streets there.
Right, it's right basically right on the border of Arvada.
And it was a straight line basically. I would take the bus all the way from where I'm at, straight all the way down to the other end because their school was all the way down the other end in Denver, right there.
Right.
When they were going to elementary. I got taken to court by the mother that she didn't want me bringing the kids home on the bus system anymore because it's dangerous. That I had to find a ride for me to pick them up and drop them off, and the judge actually agreed. And I looked at my attorney. I said, really? You're going to allow him to actually tell me that I can't put my girls on a bus because I'm blind and that's my only transportation? And he didn't say nothing to the judge.
Of course not. And I want to paint a picture for people that don't understand this. Again, people who do not live in Colorado, to understand the areas that Mike's talking about. 44th and from basically Denver through like Kipling Street or Wadsworth
it goes all the way out to Golden, basically.
Yeah, all the way out to Golden. These are nice suburban areas. Even on the bus, it's a nice suburban area. We're not talking about like East Colfax Avenue, which would be
really dangerous.
Drugville area for lower Denver / Lakewood area. We're not talking about an area where you have violent crimes and sketchy people. We're talking about places where people are making,
pretty good money. Have nice houses, well cared for parks and stuff like. There's no crime on the 44th Street. But I was told that I couldn't take them on the bus because of my blindness. I felt that was racist. I felt that was discriminatory, and I just couldn't believe a judge actually went for that. He said, if you have to take a taxi, you take a taxi. Who's going to pay for that taxi going back and forth each week? Exactly.
It's okay. I've been told by magistrates and judges, as far as child support is concerned, when I tried to get it lowered because they were taking 75% of my check, my weekly check, 75%. I was left with a quarter of what I worked for. Let me put that in perspective for people. If I was making $10 an hour, I was really only making $2.50 before taxes. Because child support comes out before taxes. So what's left is being taxed. So I was really walking away with like $1 an hour type work. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I was making more money than $10 an hour, but I just wanted to put that into an easy perspective for people. You're taking 75% of my check, and when I tried to get it lowered because I can't live on it, they told me straight out they could legally they could leave me with $75 a month because that is enough for food for a week.
What about rent?
They didn't care. They said go find a shelter. That's what they told me. Go find a shelter. We don't care
Wow.
that you can't afford your own place to live.
And even with the COVID, they were still strict with you.
Oh yeah. I tried to lower my child
Even
support.
though all these people lost jobs and everything else.
Right.
And they're trying to help them out, but they won't help out the people that are paying child support.
I tried to lower my child support, emergency stop, and lower my child support because of losing my job when the coronavirus shit first started. And I had to file for unemployment. And, of course, as most people know, when you file for unemployment, before they added all the incentive bullshit in, when you first file for unemployment, you only get like a third or two-thirds of your check. I forget exactly what it was. So I knew I wasn't going to be making enough money to make the monthly payments that I was ordered to make. So I tried to get it lowered and stopped until the unemployment kicked in so that way I could give them money. I can't give them money when I don't have the unemployment. And it took like fucking 2 months for unemployment to kick in. Okay? So with all that said, I tried over the phone because you weren't allowed to go to the fucking courthouse. Over the phone, I tried to get them to lower it under these circumstances and conditions, showed that I filed for unemployment, showed that my job just laid me off because of coronavirus. And they refused to lower it or stop it. But they still took they still took out of my unemployment, but they only took fractions out of my unemployment, allowing me to garner more and more arrears during this whole entire pandemic. They allowed me to lapse in my payments because they refused to work with me even during a pandemic where technically them, as in the municipal government, forced me to no longer be able to work and be stuck in a house where I would not be able to provide those payments.
And then you just caught them double dipping.
And then we literally, before we started recording, I went on my support website to look up at my cases, and I was reading to Mike what I'm supposed to be paying monthly and how much they were taking out of my unemployment, and I realized something that they were taking out the exact same amount twice in the same day. So they were double dipping me, but giving me no credit for the payment.
Yeah, see, that's just, and that's why you need to take that paperwork. And it probably won't matter, but you got to do something and keep trying.
Well, the problem is I don't care if they don't want to give me the credit, but I don't want it used against me saying that I wasn't paying, that they could turn around and fuck me over. You know what I mean? It's like it's in black and white right there. You took the money.
Yeah, good luck with that. They will tell you. They will just tell you, sorry, you're just out of luck.
Well, case in point, like I just got done telling you, I'm in arrears, and they forced me in arrears. And what did they do? They took my fucking tax return.
Yeah.
$3,000 plus
during COVID.
During COVID, $3,000 plus that I could have used to catch up on my bills and everything that has been suffering during all this pandemic. They took every last cent from me.
Now, let's flip the tables a little bit. Say that you're still paying child support. Say that your ex is making just as much money as you are, maybe even a little bit more.
At one point,
they're making you pay for your kid's full amount, but the money she makes off of her paycheck, she gets to spend it on whatever she wants. But you have to pay the entire living situation for the kids.
It is not just that. I got told straight out by a court magistrate on the record, because they record everything. On the record, one time I tried to argue the fact that, when I get my kids in visitation and everything else, they come and hand me down clothes, and they're always hungry when I get them and stuff like that. I said, I'm paying my child support, but yet I'm not seeing the fruits of my labor in my children. I want to see receipts that my money is going towards the welfare of my children. And I was told point blank, verbatim, I am quoting right now, once the money leaves my paycheck, it is no longer my concern what she does with it.
So I did things a little bit different. I would pay child support, And I would sit there and I'd buy the kids winter coats. I'd buy the kids good clothes. And not more than the next time I saw them, they were wearing hand-me-down jackets. They were wearing clothes that were raggedy. And my girls literally told me, oh, Mom sold the coats for drugs.
Oh, Jesus. Well, the one thing I'm lucky with is my ex-wife is not a drug addict. She's a bitch and a cunt and Satan from hell, but at least she's not into drugs. I could say that much. But, yeah, same example. Like, I have right next to me, you guys can't see because we're not on camera, right next to me, I have clothing boxes that are filled with clothes for my children that I bought myself for them. Or, Jen has bought for them, too, because, they're her stepchildren. And all that we have bought and keep here. We do not allow the children to take the clothes home with them to Mom's house because I'll never see them again. I get the ratty clothes and everything else, and all my nice clothes go. And one time, my daughter, when she was about 6 years old, she was she had this shirt, and I'll paint the picture for you here. It was a black shirt, long sleeve, and it had a white owl on it, and it had like the owl feathers on it. So like it kind of poofed out with the feathers that you could, touch, rub, whatever. She loved this shirt, and one day I didn't catch it. She wore it back home. And all of a sudden, we couldn't find the shirt, and she didn't know where it was and all that. And I kept saying to my ex, I want the shirt back. It's Jaden's favorite. She wants to wear it when she's with me on the weekends. I want the shirt back. Oh, I don't know where the shirt is. I don't know where the shirt is. Fast forward 2 months later, I catch one of her other daughters wearing that shirt.
Wow. Yeah. So in that situation, and yeah, you missed her wearing that shirt, but I would have done the same thing. Whatever clothes they showed up in, I would have taken pictures of that. It's like, oh, let me take pictures of you guys. You guys look so cute, did the whole thing or whatever, and take pictures. Then when they wake up the next morning, you take the clothes that they're wearing, get them washed, get them folded, put them away for the weekend, let them wear their nice clothes there at the house so they look decent. And then when they get ready to go home, make them change out clothes. They could wear the same clothes they came in on, and you take pictures of them leaving in the same clothes. So if she tried taking the court and said, oh, he brought them back in dirty clothes, or such, and say, no, this is what they showed up in these clothes. We washed them and sent them back in the same clothes. That's what I would have done.
That's what I do. That's what until this now, that's what I used to do. Is I'd get them home on a Friday night, like 6 p.m. I'd pick them up, bring them back here. As soon as they got back here, I made them change into their pajamas. And I would take the clothes from their mom's house, and I would automatically throw it in the washer and dryer. And they would wear my clothes Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, until it was time to go back to Mom's. And when it was time to go back to Mom's, I would put them back in Mom's clothes.
Wow.
But they were washed. At least I was decent enough to wash
You washed them, and you had them wear them home.
Right. And that's
I should have done that. I should have done that with my girls, but I bought them clothes and this, that, and I let them go home with them, and I never saw them again. I should have did exactly what you did. I didn't even think about that back then.
It still doesn't help totally. I mean, fucking the kids would wear the socks or underwear I bought them home, and then I'd wind up with all the ratty fucking holy shit from Mom's house.
Well, see, I wouldn't mind buying more socks and underwear. It's the clothes that's really
Are you
expensive.
kidding? Do you know how much underwear and socks are even for kids?
I've heard lately, actually, yes.
And then needing to constantly rebuy it. I mean, it's bad enough that you have to rebuy them every time they grow an inch, but then you have to constantly rebuy them because all of a sudden the brand new pack of underwear you had for them disappeared.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it gets expensive after a while. People do not understand, especially when they look at things like me doing podcasting and everything else. I do podcasting. Majority of what I use is free. Free to download, free to do. It's really, the only thing it's costing is my time, and that's why I record late at night when there's nothing else I could fucking do. Because people need to understand. I have sacrificed everything. I gave up.
And there are a lot of fathers out there that do the same thing.
Right, and I'm not taking away from them. In fact, I'm speaking for them in this aspect. I gave up dreams for my children. I gave up freedoms for my children. I gave up fucking a social life for my children, which I do not regret doing, but I want to drive this home. There are many times when I've had my kids for the weekend and I spent money on them that I really could have used on something that needed to be handled, but I refused to let my children go without. So
Go without.
I went
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
I went without so that they would have.
And that's the way it should be. And that's what we did. And that's what I did.
And that's what you're supposed to do, absolutely. But I want to drive this home. People always want to think like dads, you know, the stigma is dads, especially deadbeat dads, they can't be bothered with child support, which is such a piddly thing, but they can go out drinking or they can go out this, that, and the other. It's like, really? Do you understand what sacrifices they are actually fucking making? Do you really look at it in the long run of what most, and again, I'm not defending actual deadbeats. There are actual deadbeat fathers out there. There are actual.
Oh, there are. I've seen a few, yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there are actual deadbeat mothers out there, too, but we don't talk about that, do we?
No, and you can't talk about it because the deadbeat mothers still actually win no matter what. They still end up getting the child support and everything. But, you know, like you said, we can't really talk about that, so.
Well, the fact of the matter is at the end of the day, we need to sit down and. The court system claims it's a fair and just thing. It's not. It's nowhere near. It's definitely mother bias. Men are penalized for being men, plain and simple. But they claim it's equality in the court system. That's
maybe
not,
you should just become a non-binary now, and then they can't judge you as a man.
Oh, then I would be mentally unstable, or they would find
yeah, they would come up with something else
exactly. And again, in that statement, I'm not picking on the people who are non-binary or transgender.
No, not
it's just
at all.
I know the court system would figure out a way of using that against me, if I even tried to do that, which I wouldn't do. But understand, like, true equality would be okay. A mother and a father did not make it as a relationship, so now we got to go through the custody battles and everything else. True equality would start out with 50-50 shared custody down the middle from day one.
Yes.
It is not equality when you have the kids 365 days a year and, you know, minus 48 days for the father. 48 days. That is every other weekend visit. It is 48 days out of 365 days. 48. That's all you get. But you're expected to pay 40 to 70% of your paycheck in child support? That is not equality.
And they also get to decide when they will let you take them for Christmas and all that.
I didn't even get that. They wouldn't even give me that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's up to the mother to say, okay, I'll let you have the kids this year, but I didn't. She wasn't nice enough to let me have them for Christmas.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they would never even let me do that. You know how hard it is to play the Santa Claus thing with your kids when they get their gifts on Christmas Eve at mommy's house, and then like a week later they come to daddy's. Oh yeah, Santa dropped some stuff off here for you too.
Yeah. Oh, or try to play Santa a week later and say, ho, 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 I came just for you.
It's funny you mentioned that because I do have a Santa Claus outfit. I bought it the day my daughter was born, and I would wear it every year for Christmas for her.
Yeah, and see, you just don't get to do that anymore.
I don't get to do that anymore, and I have to play off to my children that Santa, after stopping at mommy's house, stopped at daddy's house and left some presents so you guys have something to open here as well.
All right.
You know how bullshit that is?
Mm-hmm. Here's another situation that I went through, and I don't know if your ex tried doing this to you or not. Even though I was paying child support and doing everything that I needed to do, she was in another relationship, not even married to this person or whatever, not even thinking about marriage, but having the girls calling him dad. And then her friends saying, oh, it's okay for them to call her dad because that's who she's seeing. I say, no, I'm their dad.
Oh, I've gotten into the arguments with Heather about that because the guy she cheated on me with she's still with, had 2 other children with him and everything else. But he was quoted to my oldest son walking in saying, I'm your new father. And I'm a hell of a lot better than what you used to have. He is quoted as saying that to my fucking oldest child at the time he was 16. He was quoted saying that to my oldest child. With Heather about it, I don't want my children calling him daddy. He is not their daddy. He's not their daddy. But at the same time, it's like, oh, they can call him daddy because he is their stepdaddy now. So you're not married. He's their stepdaddy now. Okay, fine. Then they can call Jenny mommy. No, they're not allowed to call Jenny mommy. The hypocrisy of it. Is
Oh, I
I'm
know.
supposed to be okay with you letting your fucking deadbeat boyfriend be called daddy with my kids, but my girlfriend, who, by the way, did not step on our relationship to steal away the marriage and everything else, she's not allowed to be called mommy just because you don't like her?
I'm telling you, it's. I mean, we could go on forever about this, but I just think we should come down to a final thing, as in all of you fathers out there. Even though the court systems aren't fair, even though they say they are, you still need to fight, and somehow we need to get some kind of a movement going, and where fathers that really do pay child support and really do care about their children, there needs to be something said for them as well. I mean, yeah, we're sitting here complaining about what's not fair. So now let's talk about what can be fair. But we need to have all the fathers that really do care stand up or do something, because it's just not right. Now, I'm still a father. I still don't get to see my girls. Well, I'm in Florida now.
Right.
But my girls still didn't want to see me anyway, because that became a whole different story. They got brainwashed after all that as well. But
which
just
is another
like
topic of conversation,
where their exes were the father now, and your father's not around, and that whole thing. So, but to the fathers that really want to be, now my daughter got stuck into the same situation. She had 3 kids, Maya did, and now she's no longer with that guy anymore. And now I hate to say it, but my own daughter's working a job trying to support all 3 kids. Now her ex is deadbeat father.
The actual deadbeat.
Because he doesn't want to give her any money, nothing.
Right. Well, there's something I want to. That's not right, by the way.
So she got caught in that trap.
Something that has been going on. There has been father rights movements. There have. You can go on Facebook and find pages, or group chats like Dad Talk Today, or your city or state's father right movements. You could join those chats. Talk to other men that are dealing with the same situations you are. The unfairness and the biasness of the family court system, even in your own city or state.
Yeah, but you can talk about it, but something still has to be done about it.
Something has to be done, but the thing is that there are movements out there. There are things going on right now in this world with this Me Too movement and everything else, and the feminist movement. They've been talking about it themselves, where they have a problem with the fact that there has been a heavy men's movement for equality, because we have been swept under the carpet politically in a lot of different things. But the one thing that has always been going on has been the way we have been mistreated in the family court systems and misfairly labeled as deadbeat fathers, because of the actions of a few, and a very small percentage of few, because most of the people I've ever sat there and talked to waiting in the family court system, this is just my own personal experience. I would say out of a room of 20 dudes that were in there in the same time I would say 2 of them were actually deadbeats that were just, I'm here to fucking, get the courts to lift the warrant on me or whatever. The rest of them are like, man, I fucking hate this. All I want to do is see my kids. Literally, that is what they're there for.
Yes, exactly.
But that whole entire room is labeled a deadbeat. So these movements are coming. But, it needs your help. If you are a father that is dealing with these unfair battles and everything else, find like-minded individuals. Do it on social media. Do it in your own neighborhoods. I'm sure there's people having meetings somewhere at some VFW venue or something like that.
A whole bunch of fathers getting together.
And we're not going to change. We're not going to change the system by just sitting around bitching about it, but we're not going to change it by force either. What we need to do is change it by numbers and figuring out the right and legal way to make it happen.
The sad part is I just don't believe, and this is my opinion alone, try to make it done legally. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen, because look at all the, what is it? The, what are they called? The women, the activist women or whatever that stick up for the, not just feminine, the women that are there in the courts for abused women and all that, things like that. Even though the women aren't abused, there's just a lot of different movements for any type of woman in the court system. And we need to get men in the court system.
Right. There's nothing for men.
There's nothing for men in the court system. So us having to change it, there has to be men in that court system.
Well,
It's all women, protecting women.
Well, look, if we learn nothing else from the past couple years with the Me Too movement, with the Pink Pussy Hat Brigade, with BLM and Antifa, we've learned that if you go out on the streets loud and disruptive, not violent and looting, but loud and disruptive, you can enact change. What we need to happen is have all of us show up outside of the family courthouse every time they're in session with somebody in the courtroom, and being as loud and disruptive legally. Legal
Yep, it's gotta be
peaceful
legally.
assembly. Legal, peaceful assembly. Do not go in there and bum rush the judge or anything. No, nothing like that. But standing on the steps of the courthouse as loud
Holding
as you can,
signs.
holding signs, and demanding that this system changes to the betterment for both the man and woman, and especially for the children. That's the only way we're going to
Because the children are caught in this whole rat race.
And that is the biggest thing that pisses you off. As a father, you appreciate this. As a father, I hate how I'm mistreated. I hate how I'm labeled. I hate how the court system is. But what I hate more is that everything they're doing hurts them, the kids.
Yes, because the kids see it and they look at you as in, really, you're that way, Dad? Because you're being labeled that way, and they find out you're being labeled that way. Then they turn around and think, wow, Dad, are you really that way?
That's it. Do to me everything you want to do. I don't care. I could take it. But
leave my kids out of it.
My kids are suffering because of this bullshit.
Exactly.
That's not right. But
so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because right now we're just repeating ourselves, but like Chris said, just go out, find on Facebook, wherever you need to go, whatever state you're in, talk to other people from other states. There's different laws in other states. Maybe you guys, something can actually happen where we can get one law passed through all the states, that benefit the fathers. Because all states have different laws.
You know what? If I can enact one call to action, not violence, but if I can enact one call to action, I'm going to talk to the lawyers out there right now. All you lawyers out there. I understand you went to college for many, many years and law school for many, many years, so you have the right to ask for whatever you want to ask. But there are a lot of fathers out there who are being bled dry by the system, who cannot afford your services, but they desperately need your help. You guys really ought to think about and girls ought to think about what you could do to help these fathers, whether it's pro bono work, whether it's pay if you win, no matter if you figure out some semblance of an affordable payment plan for helping these fathers deal with these legal issues and fight these court systems. That needs to happen, because you can't expect them to depend on legal aid or public defenders, because those lawyers are fucking garbage. They do nothing. They do not care if you win or lose. They do not care if
they get paid either way.
They get paid either way. We need people that are actually going to fight for us. And the only way we're going to get them is if you guys cut us a break in some way, shape, or form on how we can obtain your services.
Exactly.
So that is the call to action. My call to action is to lawyers. Work with some of these fathers who desperately need your help.
And that's going to be our plea there for the end, I would think.
That is. At this point, guys, what do you guys think? Do you have stories, horror stories of the family court systems or whatever that you'd like to share? Leave a comment down below. You know what? I'm not even going to exclude women from this. If you think we're wrong and you have a logical rebuttal, please, I'd love to read it. Leave it in the comment section down below. Till then,
and other men that are going through the same thing, leave a comment as well, because this is where men can actually get together and talk about things, as long as you're a father that's really trying to make a difference, not just somebody who just wants to say something.
Exactly. And of course, guys, check out all the other great podcasts of Breaking the Fourth Wall Entertainment, and make sure you're giving some love to my friends over at blindcaferadio.com. So that way you're helping not only a good cause with the blind community, but you're also getting a chance to jam out to some great tunes, some great podcasts, and every once in a while, a whiny little dude from Philadelphia who likes to bring you rock and metal.